Why hello there, defenders of the fortress, Rodamon here. Thank you for tuning in to Dwarf Fortress. Episode 25, Breaking Ground on Anti-Siege Defenses. The first thing I want to do is to solve my work order problem that I was struggling with last stream, and the answer, as soon as I sat down and stopped streaming, was so obvious to me. I was like, oh my god, why didn't I think of that? Because sometimes you get so stuck in the weeds, you don't see the forest through the trees. So my issue is very, very simple. I've only been brewing one. It will only ever queue up one. I need to brew up more than one. So it's not about shop max or anything like that. Whoops, no, that's not what I meant to do. I just literally need to raise it to 2. And then go to my stills and say, hey, only allow one work order. So when I'm brewing 2, it will issue one work order to one still and one work order to the other. That's it. I'm stupid for not thinking of it. So I'm going to do the same thing with the kitchen. For the others, like the smelter, it's not that simple. Because the smelters can take more... It's not just one work order for all steel or whatever. So there's a little bit more finesse to it. But essentially, that's the solution. So let's fix that before we do anything else. So that was brewing drinks from plants. And this is preparing easy meals. And yeah. Take a look. If drinks are less than 1280, we'd brew. And then I think what I could do, there's also the ability to repeat orders and change when they're repeated, but I think that's good for now. All right, all of the doubled up orders that I had here, this other brew drink from plant I can get rid of now, and easy meals I can get rid of. And then a lot of the other double orders I'm going to correct as well, because this list is growing and it's becoming really nasty and honestly just simply hard to deal with. So the tetrahydrite ore, because I have 3 smelters, I'm going to raise the conditions for smelting tetrahydrite up to 3. So if we take a look at the smelters here, I'm going to change the amount of work orders that they can take to 3 work orders apiece, just so that one smelter can't get ridiculously backed up while the other smelters remain idle. It should help a little bit. And it's one of those things I'll tinker with it when it needs tinkering. Alright, so same deal with the pig iron bars, we'll raise it up to 3. The same deal with the hematite, magnetite, limonite, and steel bars. And let's see. I'm gonna do cabinets. So certain furniture like beds and cabinets, because I have 2 crafting benches for them, it's worth raising those up to 2 to take advantage of both of the workplaces that I have for them. So a lot of the bills that I have are going to go up to 2, just because I happen to have 2 of those things. Now, certain bills like wheelbarrows. In fact, this wheelbarrow needs to get removed because I don't have reliable sources of willow. So it's just usually any wood wheelbarrow. Let's correct that now that I'm staring at it. Carpenter wheelbarrow. Make... And things that we don't need a bajillion of, I really don't need to... I don't need to necessarily raise up to 2. So empty wheelbarrows less than, let's say, 5, and logs right into 10. All right, so let's revisit the work orders and get them all sorted so that it's a lot cleaner. So we have infinite lignite and bit coal. Shell coffers I'm going to raise to 2. Most of the smelting I'll raise to 3 because we have 3 smelters. And this, of course, can be revisited and bumped up. Now, for gems, I do have 2 jeweler workshops, so let's raise that bill up to 2. So we can double up the cut gems. Now, because I only have 1 armor smith, I don't necessarily need to double up the steel helmets, breastplates, etc. Because I only have 1 dude making that stuff. So it's not multiple bills help. So I believe I have a steel bar here at 3. So we'll get rid of this other steel bar. This other pig iron bar, because I believe I have another pig iron bar up here. Pig iron bar 3, yep. And then the hematite, limonite, and magnetite can get rid of as well. Alright, the doubled up large microsilent... no, those are correct. And then the brew drink from plants down here, I'm going to nuke, as we no longer need them. So I think I've redone the work orders to the point where, like, they're going to be better. And I'll change the shop max. Actually, no, the limonite, the lignite and bit coal should only be 1 shop max, because I don't want that stuff backing up the smelter. Basically, I only want 1 smelter ever to work on that. And I think that will fix a lot of the issues that we had with the smelter. So now, as you can see, steel bars and pig iron bars are on the smelter, and this smelter as well, and this smelter as well. Problem solved. Again, I have no idea why I didn't. I just got lost in the weeds and totally overlooked like this one simple mechanic that, yeah. I might also, yeah, brew drink from fruit. So at the moment, I believe we are cooking all our fruit. So it's not that I agree brewing from fruit would be good. The reason why we aren't brewing from fruit is, at the moment, we need, like, well, let's see. We have a lot of food. I did buy a lot of food, so I'm going to switch, actually, from the things that can be brewed to being brewed only. Except for rope reeds, because I believe rope reeds are, and pigtails are okay, that looks correct. And let's do the work order for the brew from fruit now too. So brew drink from plant, and then still brew drink from fruit. I am gonna go to the painstaking efforts of raising this up a bajillion times to bring it to the top, because I want to group my brew together. Good lord. UXF. If you know, you know. All right, there we go. So brew drink from fruit. Do 2. I believe it's 1280. Okay, so let's do if drinks are less than 1280. Cool. All set. Yeah. So that's gonna help us get armored quickly. So to check up on the armor, let me hide my overlay. Open this up, go to the Axe Dwarves, go to equip, and as you can see, we've got 5 out of 6-ish with gear. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. And it should pick up the pace now that we are smelting smarter. Sweet. All right. So with that done, one of the big projects that I wanted to take on this stream was to prepare siege defenses. I don't have a lot of experience with sieges, so I'm not really sure what to expect. But what I do know is I don't really at the moment have any true defenses, and I'm definitely going to spit up some defenses. Because if I don't start preparing defenses and then I get besieged, it's a wipe. And I'd rather not end this run before I intend to. I'd rather be in control of those factors, I suppose. So, I'm not 100% sure how to lay out like proper siege defenses, but that's one of the things that I was going to brainstorm with you all. What is the parchment icon on the fruit? It just hasn't been, the work order hadn't been verified by our manager, but it is now. Basically, when you add a work order, your, the person in charge of, like, management needs to essentially, like, confirm the work order. Alright, so, siege defense. Let's talk about this from, like, a big picture, because I don't really know the finer details. So the TLDR is that the siege update adds, previously when you got attacked, it was just like attackers. You know, they would just like show up and rah, and they were you could turtle essentially. For most raids, if you like just turtled and walled up, you were fine. Now when you get attacked, they'll build floors, walls, ladders to get to you. They will break down walls to get to you. They will mine stuff to get to you. They'll take battering rams to get to you. And you definitely need a lot more defenses as a result of that change. There are, however, new ways to defend against sieges. So in the military tab, previously you had ballista and catapult. Ballista is like a massive mega arrow that kills everything within a line and has a lot of collateral damage. Like, you can absolutely... It's not to be fired on enemies when you have, like, axe dwarves or sword dwarves or mace dwarves around, because it will 100% hit your own dwarves and kill your own dwarves. So, like, that's a bad idea. You've got the catapults, which are slow firing, but really good for... Or so I've been told, so I've read. Good for, like, large groups. But now there's a new one, the bolt thrower. And the bolt thrower is like a super rapid fire crossbow. And it uses a lot of ammunition, but you know, it's going to lay down a lot of bolts at your enemies and help suppress their numbers. So, the thing about the defenses, generally speaking, you're gonna want, like, sort of like a RimWorld killbox. You're gonna want the enemies to come in and be forced, in order to breach into your base, to go through as many siege defenses as possible. The problem with this is, I really didn't design my, like, entryway to be conducive to that. Generally speaking, the concept here is to put your siege equipment behind, like, fortifications, which you can fire through, and filter all of the enemies into one tight space and just, like, flood them full of, like, siege equipment shots. Right? That's more or less how we're going to do it. And there's also these new reinforced walls, which are stronger, which will help repel invaders. So things that are not being shot through, like the fortification holes, can be reinforced walls. So that, you know, they can't easily, like, blitz through our defenses. So with all that said, I'll probably need to end up redesigning. And what I'd like to do is I would like to design some sort of, like, U-shaped moat where enemies... Oops, sorry, I hit my mic. Enemies come in and they're funneled into a tight space that we can just, like, flood full of, like, bolt repeaters. I think initially I want to use bolt repeaters, just because I think they're a little bit easier. They're a little bit more flexible, whereas, like, ballista are very... Ballista work really well against, like, long hallways. But as soon as you have a breach, or as soon as they're not, like, all lined up, it fails to work as effectively. So what I'm hoping to do is I'm hoping to design it, because of the limitations that this specific fortress has, given the layout, either I would have to dig a new ramp in order to have, like, a longer wind-up, or I would need to, you know, do something else. So, about that. If I dig a... I'm going to try to dig a dry mode on surface. And then what I want to do is I want to have the dry moat lead to essentially this ramp here, which then leads to my entryway. So the thing is, we're gonna dig like a 2 cell deep dry moat. Dry because a lot of enemies can swim, so if it's a wet moat, if it's a moat that has liquid that isn't like magma, they can cross it easier than a dry moat. And of course this doesn't stop like flying critters, but a dry moat, and it's really hard to visualize, but essentially it will be a moat like here, where the entryway comes from the east, and you go down a ramp into the moat, into like a pit of sorts. I guess it's more of a pit than a moat. And then all of our siege equipment is pointing basically at the front door. Can they not climb up as well? Well, it's not about climbing up. Basically, the entryway to our entire fortress is going to be here, with like all of the siege equipment around pointing at it. The caveat, of course, is we will need to mine a considerable amount of stuff. And what I'm doing is I'm like kind of low-key struggling how to even visualize such a requirement. I'm a little worried that I'm just like gonna build it wrong, to put it bluntly. But I will do my best. So the first thing I might end up doing is, once the cinnabar floors are removed, because we don't really want them anymore, I'm going to start channeling. I want to build, I guess calling it a moat would be wrong. What I want to build is like a pit. So in order to have you see it, maybe I'll do it like this. Imagine this here is a door. This is the door into our fortress. Like right here is like a bridge that's a tiny little bridge door. And then all of this, let me zoom out. We have the door here, and then probably like this of course is not the actual plan, but have it like something like this where it's curved, where we have a lot of siege equipment behind fortification walls along the edges, all pointing to incoming enemies that are ramping down this way. Right? This looks like a RimWorld killbox. It should, because it's basically a RimWorld killbox. So enemies are coming down from the surface into what is like a 2-unit deep pit filled with bolt throwers, and maybe I'll have some ballistas like here and here to fire up that way. And that's sort of the concept. The trouble is, it's a little tricky to dig. Like multiple cells down. Basically, the way Dwarf Fortress is laid out is like you've got a layer of floor, and then like the layer, and a layer of floor, and the layer. It's more easy to visualize it if you play like Going Medieval, which has sort of the same thing. So if you want to build a wall in Going Medieval, it's not just wall, wall, wall. It's wall, floor, wall, floor, wall, floor, like a sandwich. And Dwarf Fortress is the same way, which is why like cave-ins don't tend to happen, because between each floor you have a layer of between each layer rather, you have a layer of floor. So really the only way to get cave-ins is for you to remove the floor, which would mean like channeling all around like this, leaving this section to float, because if there's nothing underneath it, it will collapse. That's why cave-ins are kind of rare if you're just regular mining, because regular mining are like, you know, you're leaving a floor level. But that's more or less the concept of the siege defenses I have. So it'll be like a subterranean pit, which will lead all the enemies in. And yeah. And what I need to do is I need to come up with roughly the dimensions. And I don't really know the entire range of all the weapons, which is the trouble. So I'm going to quickly look up a bolt thrower and try to figure out what its like range is so that I can design this to take advantage. But yes, you're right. I'm essentially going to want to be channeling from the top. So let me quickly look up bolt thrower. Oh, great. It's not going to tell me. Roughly 60 tiles for a bolt thrower. Okay. I'm not going to have like a 60 tile pit here because like that's unnecessary. What I wanted to make sure is I didn't want it to be too big, but too small is not going to be an issue. So let's assume that right here we have our door. And I think the best way to do this is to... Actually, I'm going to dig it out like this, because what I can do is I can have it be a, I can have this section be another moat, where the bridge actually goes down and up. So if the bridge is destroyed, there's like a pit. That way it's not just a door and wall, it is also a moat. So if you envision a door here, or bridge here, that goes 5 units out, and then like a hole here, on the other side of the bridge, we're going to have, let's do 35. And what I'm going to be doing here is designing sort of like the pit that we're going to have. Where enemies are going to come in and get, hopefully, shredded. Something like that. Yeah. So once this is done, this area will be a deep moat to stop them from coming in. And then we can have, once the bridge is down, we can have like ballista set up here to fire all the way down this way. And what I'm hoping to do is then I'll copy this here and scroll up to the surface. And I get a pretty good idea of where I need to channel. So that all will be channeled. And then what I'm going to do is beneath it. And this will likely screw up this will likely screw up the ramp that we already have. Basically, the ramp that we already have is becoming obsolete, and instead it's going to be the ramp is going to start here. So I'm going to use like the entire, almost the entire width of this map tile as like a run up to inside. Also, Steelboot, Glitch, Cthulhu, thank you for the resubs in the cheer. And this is definitely like a mega project. Oh. I did not... I did not mean for them to be channeling that lower level yet. So that's when they screwed up. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to, oops. Paint, oops, this on the surface. Remove it layer by layer. And then I'll erase the lower levels, and we're just going to do it layer by layer. So that we don't get any, like, collapsing or anything like that. let's look at our work labor. So miners. We have 3 miners that are going to be taken off of stone cutting, so that all they're doing is channeling this out. Yeah, what I should have done was hit the blueprint only. But oh well. Oh, no. Guys, don't do that. Another thing that I'd like to keep track of is our stocks of bars, making sure that we are making a decent amount of steel, and then also food and drink, prepared meals and drinks. So I have 450 prepared meals. And drinks, I've got 373. So I want to make sure that those numbers are going up, not down. Okay. Well, the dry mode is starting. And it looks like these smelters are now taking the proper bills. And the armor is getting manufactured. Perfect. And this is a lot of mining, obviously. Oh, another thing to check on is eventually, yeah, okay, this was a problem. Eventually what we're going to want is a proper pasture or something. But obviously I don't want the pasture to interfere with the project now, so I'm going to change the pasture so that it doesn't overlap. I don't need to get animals stranded down there. Alright, while we're working on that, I do hope to continue to clean up the bedrooms, because the bedrooms are still 1 cabinet? Oof, okay. I'm gonna guess I don't have more shell cabinets because I don't have enough people working on them. That would be my guess. So I need a lot of coffers and cabinets. So if we take a look at the coffers, less than, let's say, 20. And then find the cabinets and do the same thing. And then I make sure that we have multiple people working on them, and they're required to just work on them. So with the Stonecutter's workshop, I'm going to have only 2 work orders to queued up per workshop. But I must... Okay, so we might not have enough people functionally working on them. No, we have a few people that are, locked to do it. So, I probably just have to wait. So once this is channeled out, what I'll do is I'll remove most of the walls of the channel. So that the only ramp in is here. So if you want to come in and out, it's really inconvenient for my own dwarves. It does mean getting wood is going to be a lot more annoying, but I don't rely very heavily on wood, so I'm fine with that. And now it's probably a little bit easier for you to visualize that it's essentially like a giant pit in the ground. The reason why I didn't build it above ground is the amount of building materials that you would need to do it above ground could be annoying to source. That's why I'm doing it as a pit, because then I'm not using building materials, I'm removing materials. And subsequently gaining shale, which I need for all the furniture bills that I've queued up, so it serves that purpose. Alright, it looks like drinks are... they're holding steady. And prepared meals at 4... are going up. Not by much. And we're aiming, again, for 640, not 460. So I still have about 180 to go. Alright, other things. My dump. Okay, the dump is not part of the pit, too. Good. Looks like a big shovel. That it does. And the idea is once I've prepared this and I feel secure about our defenses, I can go ahead and, you know, raise our population cap and have more immigrants, have more migrants. So what this does not do is it does not do it. The idea is once I've excavated all this earth, the fortifications will be along the outer walls. So if flyers fly in, they're still going to get shot, and we're going to still be shooting them from relative security. Now, for convenience, until this is done, I might want to leave one ramp section in so that we can get... No, I'm not even going to do that, because I don't interact with the surface enough. Alright, checking up on our squads. Yay! Most of them have armor. We haven't armored up our Marks Dwarves yet. So that's going to be another thing to do. And now the only ramps up are over here. So I screwed up a little bit because I started channeling out deeper than I intended to, but you can kind of see the shape. Again, I don't know if this is a good shape. This is all a test. Alright, next up, we're going to do another channel. And I'm going to channel everything that we just channeled to go down another level. And this is going to be a 2 deep hole, because a lot of things can climb up a 1, but not a lot can climb up a 2. And it looks like I've even... yeah, okay. There might be some errors here. Like, what is even going on here? There's a floating tile or something, I think. So I'm sure there's going to be some troubleshooting. Okay. Bedrooms. Let's keep working. Oh, that's a decent amount of cabinets. 8 coffers. All right. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Got it. Well, we're about almost halfway adding furniture to the bedrooms. I may need to build stairs to remove that thing there. That error. So I'll try that. A petition. You are Kozla Blizzard Speak. Alright, let's take a look at them before we vote on that. So it's a human bowman, 39 years old, 2 lovers, 4 children. They've got quiver and bow, competent bowman, proficient tracker. And this would be... I did add it to the poll. Oh, that's not where the poll should be. Let me move that, because it's covering my face. We do have 3 more bedrooms for long-term residents. So you guys can vote on whether we admit the bowman or not. The other thing that we could do, far flung in the future, is to build a castle up here on the surface, so that this area here could become like floored with stone or something, and then like fortifications above that we can fall back into our fortress if we need to. I don't really plan on that. Like, that's so much a nice to have, not a need to have, but I can leave it up to you eventually. You could definitely see the shape and form coming together. Come on, someone just move that jet out of the way. Wow, you guys are dead heat tied of whether you want them or not. There's other things to be done in this setup. Now, this is going to be more important for the cavern defenses than it will be for the surface, but another thing to consider would be traps. The reason to have traps from the caverns is like a lot of things that at least don't know how to avoid traps will get into will fall into the traps. So if I had like traps here or traps here, we could potentially trap would-be enemies before they like got somewhere dangerous, which would not be a bad idea. Traps don't really work for the entryway, and the reason for that is traps will block the caravans, so it will block trade. Unless we like engineer some sort of alternative path or something like that. Thank you for tuning in to Dwarf Fortress, which originally streamed live on Twitch. If you have any questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to catch a live stream of mine, Rodamont.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you'd like to join my online gaming community on Discord, Rodamont.com has a link to it, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching. Special thank you to my Twitch subscribers, Patreon patrons, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow dwarves.